friendly little reminder for everybody who's excited about their team going all in this offseason. Just because a team is stacked with pro players doesn't exactly mean they're going to stack up wins. It takes just a little bit more than raw talent to take home the Lombardi Trophy. The super team concept tends to work more often than not in the NBA, but when NFL, NHL, and MLB teams give it a shot, it rarely seems to work out. There are exceptions in the NFL though. Believe it or not, sometimes these teams that try and stack their rosters will actually find plenty of success. Keyword there though, sometimes. Here's a look at 5 NFL super teams who actually succeeded and 5 that failed miserably. Succeeded. 2021 Los Angeles Rams. When you look at the top players on the Super Bowl 56 champion Los Angeles Rams, only Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp are homegrown. They signed Odell Beckham, Robert Woods, and Andrew Whitworth as free agents. Matthew Stafford and Jalen Ramsey were acquired in blockbuster trades that involved multiple first-round picks. Rams GM Les Snead went all in when it came to constructing the Rams, and it paid off. Most super teams don't pan out in the NFL, but these Rams sure did. Any big trade or signing Snead made turned to gold. 2 years after losing Super Bowl 53, Snead and Sean McVay were convinced that a simple quarterback upgrade was the final piece of the puzzle. So they shipped off Jared Goff and a bunch of picks for Stafford. After all, who needs draft picks when you can acquire proven talent to lead you to a championship? Not every team needs to commit to a long-term rebuilding plan. More teams should be motivated to follow in the footsteps of Snead's Rams. Failed. 2011 Philadelphia Eagles. The 2010 Eagles won the NFC East thanks to a resurgent Michael Vick, who went on to claim Comeback Player of the Year honors. With Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, Asante Samuel, and Jason Peters all in the fold, Philly already had most of the pieces in place to contend for a championship. In the 2011 offseason, however, the Eagles added more star power to an already deep roster. They signed superstar cornerback Nnamdi Asomugha and standout veteran pass rushers Jason Babin and Colin Jenkins. Vince Young was even added to back up Vick, and the former proclaimed these Eagles to be a dream team. Well, so much for that. The new Eagles never really clicked. Asomugha was a disastrous fit in Juan Costello's defense. Vick missed 3 games due to injury, and it took a hot second half finish just for Philly to salvage an 8-8 record. So much for the whole dream team thing, huh, Vince? Succeeded. 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unlike the 2021 Rams, the 2020 Bucs had drafted most of their core players, including Levante David, Devin White, Vita Vea, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Donovan Smith, Carlton Davis, and Antoine Winfield Jr. But the Bucs were missing one final piece, and it just so happened to be at the game's most important position. Bruce Arians didn't want anything more to do with the 30 INT man Jameis Winston, so Tampa went on the search for a new starting QB. Fortunately for the Bucs, Tom Brady grew tired of Bill Belichick's tight ship in New England, so he tested 2020 free agency and opted to sign a 2-year pact with the Bucs. A month later, All-Pro tight end Rob Gronkowski ended a 1-year retirement and orchestrated a trade to Tampa Bay. And to accommodate Brady, Tampa traded up for Tristan Wirfs Jr., who quickly developed into one of the game's elite offensive tackles. Along the way, Bucs also picked up former Jacksonville Jaguars standout running back Leonard Fournette. And midway through the season, they signed mercurial wideout Antonio Brown to take their offense to yet another level. And in the end, Tampa's all-in approach paid off mightily. The Bucs' high-powered offense and resilient front seven bullied opponents all the way to a Super Bowl 55 championship. So, the moral of the story, when the GOAT hits free agency, you do whatever it takes to sign him and surround him with playmakers. Failed. 2019 Cleveland Browns. Following a disastrous 0-16 season, the 2018 Browns showed some promise with Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, and Myles Garrett leading the way. Cleveland fired head coach Hugh Jackson following a 2-5-1 start, and they finished 5-3 with interim head coach Greg Williams. Mayfield did wonders with offensive coordinator Freddie Kitchens, throwing a then-rookie record 27 touchdown passes. Having finished 7-8-1, these Browns were seemingly on the up. They promoted Kitchens to head coach, and GM John Dorsey completed a blockbuster trade for New York Giants star receiver Odell Beckham Jr. and pass rushing standout Olivier Vernon. Run-stopping machine Sheldon Richardson was also signed in free agency. Future Pro Bowl guard Wyatt Teller was acquired in a trade with the Buffalo Bills. Cleveland signed former Kansas City Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt to complement Chubb. All that veteran talent was added to complement Cleveland's young core, which finished the 2018 season on a high note. No wonder the Browns are a trendy pick to win the AFC North in 2019, or at least compete for a playoff spot. Except, well, none of that happened. Beckham and Mayfield couldn't get on the same page all year long. The second-year QB stood little chance behind a struggling offensive line. Myles Garrett was banned for the final 6 games for his helmet-swinging incident with Mason Rudolph. Freddie Kitchens proved to be in over his head and unqualified for the coaching role. This all added up to a disastrous 6-10 season that cost both Kitchens and GM John Dorsey their jobs. Yes, these Browns are even worse than the 2018 group that had far less talent on their roster. Succeeded. 1993 Kansas City Chiefs. No, these Chiefs didn't win a Super Bowl, but considering they went all in and developed into a contender anyway, well, we'd classify that as a successful super team. Coming off a 10-win season, the Chiefs decided to further upgrade an already deep roster. With Steve Young emerging as the guy in San Francisco, Joe Montana, of all people, became expendable. The 49ers traded him to the Chiefs, giving Marty Schottenheimer and company a new short-term franchise quarterback. The Chiefs also signed Raiders legend and future Hall of Fame running back Marcus Allen. Now, they were a prime Super Bowl contender. The new-look Kansas City team lived up to the hype. They finished 11-5, ranking 8th in scoring offense. Kansas City got past the Pittsburgh Steelers and Houston Oilers in the postseason to advance to the AFC Championship game. They did ultimately fall to the Buffalo Bills, but this marked the furthest they got into the postseason since their 1969 Super Bowl championship. The Chiefs regressed to 9 wins in 1994, but it was still enough to make the playoffs. They were eliminated by the Miami Dolphins in the wildcard round, and Montana would call it quits on his legendary career. As for Allen, though, he would play 3 more years with KC, leading them to AFC West Division crowns in 1995 and 1997. Failed. 2000 Washington. The toxic Dan Snyder era actually got off to a nice start in 1999. Washington won 10 games and defeated the Detroit Lions in the wildcard round, but they dropped a heartbreaker to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the divisional round. Still, it looked to be a promising future for Washington, so it was easy to understand Snyder's willingness to hand out contracts to all-time sacks leader Bruce Smith, GOAT cornerback Deion Sanders, and Pro Bowl safety Mark Carrier. Furthermore, Washington drafted a pair of future Pro Bowlers in linebacker LeVar Arrington and offensive lineman Chris Samuels. The future suddenly looked very bright in DC. Smith was productive in his first year with Washington, but Carrier was well past his best before date, and Sanders played just 1 season in DC before retiring for 3 years, as he too was well past his prime. All that talent led to a disappointing 8-8 season in DC. Somehow, adding those 3 big-name stars plus the 2 rookie sensations caused Washington to regress by 2 wins. But I guess that sums up the Dan Snyder era for you. Succeeded. 2013 Seattle Seahawks. Well, actually, most of the star-studded Seahawks team was homegrown. Russell Wilson, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, and Golden Tate were drafted by the team. In 2012, the Seahawks posted 11 wins and fell just short of reaching the NFC Championship game, losing to the top-seeded Atlanta Falcons in the divisional round. But it was only the start of something special, and GM John Snyder now had the formula for a super team in his mind. The Seahawks traded a first-round pick to acquire Minnesota Vikings star receiver Percy Harvin. They also added pass-rushing stalwarts Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett in free agency to accommodate the Legion of Boom. Seattle won 13 games in 2013, posting the NFL's top-scoring defense. And they'd go on to humiliate the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 48. The Seahawks would make the big game again the following year, though we know how that one ended. This core also led Seattle to playoff berths again in 2015 and 2016, before gradually dissolving in 2017. This wasn't a one-hit wonder of a super team. Snyder went all in, and the Seahawks were among the NFC's top teams for most of the decade. Failed. 2015 Indianapolis Colts. It's very hard to comprehend how this one failed so miserably. The Colts were coming off a third straight playoff appearance and a trip to the 2014 AFC Championship game. Clearly, Andrew Luck was ready to help this team take the next step heading into 2015. Indianapolis signed perennial Pro Bowl wideout Andre Johnson and future Hall of Fame running back Frank Gore to complement their offensive juggernaut. Speedy wideout Philip Dorsett was drafted in the first round to give Luck another playmaking stud. But there are just two major problems. GM Ryan Grigson didn't bother to fix up a soft front seven or vulnerable secondary in the offseason. He also didn't address a horrible offensive line that offered Luck next to no protection. The Colts season was done for when Luck suffered a lacerated kidney that ended his campaign after 7 games. They finished 8-8 and missed the postseason altogether. Johnson and Dorsett were non-factors, and the Colts' sieve of a defense certainly didn't help their cause. Succeeded. 2015 Denver Broncos. The whole super team in the Mile High began in 2012 when the Broncos signed 4-time and soon-to-be 5-time NFL MVP Peyton Manning in free agency. They already had franchise cornerstones Von Miller, Demaryius Thomas, Ryan Clady, Eric Decker, and Chris Harris Jr. in place. Manning was the final piece that took them to contention. After getting blown out by Seattle in Super Bowl 48, however, GM John Elway decided his team needed even more star power. He signed Pro Bowl corner Aqib Talib, hard-hitting safety TJ Ward, and future Hall of Famer DeMarcus Ware in free agency. Standout wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders was signed to replace the departed Decker. The Broncos won 12 games and the AFC West in 2014, but the Colts stunned them in the divisional round. A year later, however, the star-studded Denver defense carried the way as Manning began to decline. In the postseason, the defense pummeled opposing quarterbacks, including Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Cam Newton, all the way to a Super Bowl 50 championship. Elway's big investment in Manning, Ware, Talib, and Ward paid off with a championship after all. And that right there, folks, is how you build a successful super team. Failed. 2008 Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were coming off a 13-win season in 2007. This was, at least according to Dallas fans, finally gonna be the year that Tony Romo and company broke through. Dallas was absolutely loaded with star power heading into 2008. Romo, Jason Witten, Terrell Owens, Marion Barber, DeMarcus Ware. I mean, 3 of their offensive linemen went to the Pro Bowl for crying out loud. Early in the season, Dallas completed a blockbuster trade for Detroit Lions star receiver Roy Williams. Funny enough though, Dallas already had a Pro Bowl safety named Roy Williams. Anyway, the season hit a major snag when Romo suffered a broken pinky that caused him to miss 3 games. He returned in week 11 and led Dallas to 3 straight W's. They were now sitting pretty at 8-4 with 4 games to go. But the Cowboys imploded during losses to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens in week 14 and 16 respectively. This set up a winner-go-home week 17 game against the arch-rival Philadelphia Eagles. The super team Cowboys were no match for Philly, who absolutely annihilated them 44-6 to clinch the wild card spot. Dallas's all-in approach led to a 9-7 season and no playoff berth. Cowboys fans wonder why we can't stop blasting them with memes. But which other NFL super teams succeeded and which other ones failed miserably? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.